Okay, if you're after free motion quilting designs, you are in the wrong place. This is not the video for that. However, if you are an absolute beginner at free motion quilting and you don't really know what to do to get started with a quilt that's under your machine, or you want to get it under your machine, this is the right video for you. This is a channel for absolute beginners, so I have got you covered in this with all those absolute essential steps and tips that you need to do to get yourself started, and we're going to do a little bit together. So who am I? I am Kim. This is Quilt with Kim. You're very, very welcome. Let's go check out what we need to do first. Okay, to get started with free motion quilting, you need to set your machine up. Now, I have covered this in another video. I'm putting the thumbnail up just there for you to go and check out. The link is above there magically, and it is also in the description below. So I would encourage you to go and watch that video, because I've gone into step-by-step detail of all the things you need to do. But essentially, you need to have put your free motion quilting foot on. You need to have put the correct needle in, and that video tells you which one I recommend. You need the same weight thread top and bottom. You need to have lowered your feed dogs, and you probably need some quilting gloves, of which mine have disappeared temporarily. They will reappear in a moment. So, having done all your setup, the next thing that you need to do may surprise you, and it doesn't involve your machine at all. So let's go and find out what that is. So now you don't need your machine. You need some paper and some pen. Why? Because it is much better to plan your free motion quilting and work out the designs on some paper before you commit to your machine. Free motion quilting is a pain in the rear to unpick. If you've ever tried to unpick your walking foot quilting, free motion quilting is a lot worse. So we don't want to be doing that. So let's practice on paper first. And this does twofold. One, it helps you plan your design. Secondly, it helps you get some muscle memory in your hands as well. And that is a good thing when you're under the machine. So I've got a Sharpie here. That's just so you can see. You don't have to have a Sharpie. I have to turn this to the side because I can't draw otherwise. But let's just pretend we have a quilt. And I'm going to do a very, 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 very simple design now. Let's just say it's a flying goose quilt. Let's just pretend that's all there is. Or you've got a block with a flying goose on it. So we've got 3 sections here, and we want to decide what designs to go in. And this is where we need to experiment on our paper first. So we might decide that we want some meandering in these sections here. Okay, and this helps when you're doing all of this. This helps you get, as I said, your muscle memory, so your hands can go in the right place. I'm actually not very good at doing meandering with my hand, but we can have a go at doing that in those. And we might say, well, actually that looks okay. I'm quite happy with that. And then, well, what am I going to do in this bit? Let's say I want to put some herringbones in. So we go, okay, we're going to do that, which actually these are very nice and easy to do. Okay, so can you see by doing this, not only can we get an idea of the design, but we also get an idea of how our hands are going to go. So it really helps understand what our quilt is going to look like and what our hands are doing. And if we've chosen that, and let's just say, oh, I really like these herringbones, it's then worth getting some paper and practicing your particular design, whatever it is. So herringbones are nice and easy. That's all that is. Another one that's quite good, I'm not going to go through all the free motion quilting designs. I've got a recommendation for some books in a moment, so just bear with me. But another little one that's nice and easy is a little straight line, and we might loop, and then we might loop that way, and we might loop that way, and then you might get a bit fancy and do a double loop, and then a double loop, or you might go for a single loop and a double loop. Can you see how I'm doing this? You can play with things and think, oh, well, I don't like that, but I do like the doubles. I like the double and the single. And we start playing. But it's really important your hand goes in the right direction. So really have a go with your pen first and play on paper as long as you want. And that gets the designs in your head. Now, I'm going to switch camera and I'm going to share some books with you that you might want to go and check out on Amazon, and check out these people on YouTube as well, because they'll help. They're really good. That's what got me started free motion to start with. So let me switch camera and show you. There we go. So Angela Walters is very, very well known for free motion quilting. I don't know if that's back to front for you or not, but we've got Angela Walters Shape by Shape, and in her book here she takes all lots of different types of shapes and what you can do in each of those shapes. That's really worth checking out. She also does a free motion meandering one. So meandering is really easy to start with, and there's lots of different types of meandering in here. By the way, I'm not on commission for any of these at all. This isn't a paid promotion. If anybody from YouTube is watching, this is I don't want to get into trouble. This is literally just a personal recommendation. That's all there is. You might want to check these people out. So Angela does free motion meandering. Angela Walters really is the queen of free motion quilting. Very happy to recommend. Go and check what she does out. But she's got all sorts of designs in her free motion meandering book, so go and check her. Then we've got Christina Cameli. I love her stuff. So again, she's got lots and lots of different designs that you can check out in here, and how to do. Oh look, there's a herringbone just there. Lots and lots of different types and styles you can do. So if you think that you can't do free motion quilting, really check this out, because we can all do little swirls, and there's some zigzags that you can do. They don't have to be equal and even. You just need to get on with it and practice, and it always looks really impressive to those who can't do free motion. You'll be able to do this, I promise. So she takes you all through that. All of these ladies teach you where to start, and that's really key when you're doing any of these free motion designs, is where to start and where to stop. We'll cover this off in this tutorial. And then I've got Natalia, Bonne as well. That's a really good book with all little projects in here and different types of stitching that you can do, and there's some echo quilting that you can see on the design there. So I think with free motion quilting, before we get on to the actual quilting on the machine, which I'll do in just a second, you need to get out of your head that it's completely perfect, particularly when you're starting. Just get rid of all of that idea. Don't worry about mistakes. You just need to get going. So practice with a pen first on paper, as I've just shown you, and check out some of these books for design inspiration, or make some up. You can't go wrong. It's just filling in a space. So have a go on paper first, and then what we're going to do is go onto a scrap quilt sandwich first to get some practice in. So that's what we are going to do next and get started. So let's meet over in that section. And by the way, I'll put the names and the titles of these books in the description below so that you can go and check those out. Okay, let's get on to the next section. Having planned our design on some paper and having practiced our free motion quilting design on that paper as well to get the muscle memory into our hands and arms, we now need to do the same on some scrap quilt sandwich. Now, you don't have to make up anything special, but if you've got some old fabric and some old wadding kicking around, then go for it, make yourself up a quilt sandwich. But if not, use all the offcuts from when you square off your quilt and you have all those strips that you've cut off from the edge. Use those as well, so never throw those away. Use them for practicing. Now, I always practice first before I let myself loose on a whole quilt. If you're coming into a whole quilt cold, you can make mistakes. You need to get your muscles into a bit of a flow with free motion. So whether you've been starting out or been quilting for a while, get yourself going on a spare piece of quilt sandwich first. But as this is your first time, then you're going to make up yourself some test or some spare quilt sandwiches to get going on. So we've got our quilt sandwich here. This is an old dodgy one that I've just been using to practice on. And we're going to slide it underneath our quilting foot here. Now, I've got a C-shape quilting foot, and that, when you're sliding it under, can catch on the edge of the fabric. So just be aware of that and make sure that you've slid it underneath there. And you will notice that when you've got your quilt sandwich underneath your foot, you can move it around very easily in any direction you want to go. And that's because we've dropped those feed dogs, and we know that our quilting foot hovers above our quilt. So there is quite a wide gap really for your quilt to slide around all over the place, but that's kind of what we want at this stage. So having done that, and we are just practicing on this, so it doesn't really matter where I'm going to lower my presser foot lever. Now I'm going to turn my machine on, put my needle in the central position. So in my case, I'm going to put it to a stitch width of 3.5, which I know on my machine moves that needle to the central position. You probably know where that is on your machine. On a lot of machines it is 3.5 mil on the digital machines. If you've got a dial, then move it so your needle appears in the central position. That will make your life a lot easier. So having got that, your needle in the central position, we've got that all lined up. That means it will go into the center of your C there. I am going to drop my needle and I'm going to lift it back up again. That is because I want to pick up my bottom thread, which is just there. I want long tails. Let's just hide that light wherever it's gone. I want long tails for both top and bottom threads. Okay, so I've picked my bottom thread up and I pulled it up to the surface. Now, having done that, we're now ready for stitching. So if you do that, I'm going to meet you in the next section to actually get going with the free motion. Having got long tails, what I'm just going to do is just catch them slightly underneath my my free motion foot, just to help keep them out of the way. You'll see that I've got my quilting gloves on because this makes the whole neck section so much easier. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is drop my needle. And then I want you to write this down. And what I want you to write down is, to get going, you are going to start stitching on the spot. Okay? So we are going to just start stitching like that. We're not going to do anything else. And what that does is lock the stitches into place. But when we get going, we start stitching on the spot and then we move our hands. So if I've been stitching on the spot, then I move my hands. Okay? Then to stop, we've stopped the moving, and then we stitch on the spot, and then we stop. So the order is, to get going, you stitch on the spot, and then you move your hands. And then when you're stopping, you're moving your hands, you stop moving your hands, and then you stitch on the spot. Okay, and then that stops all those bunny hop jumping and all the other bits that you do. So let's do that again, and let's come in this direction. And you'll see that actually I got a bit of speed going there. So I'm starting, so I'm going to stitch on the spot. Then I'm going to move. Then I'm going to stop my hands, stitch on the spot, and finish the stitching. If I didn't do that, I'd get all the bunny hops, and we don't want that. Now, with our speed, I've actually got my speed selector on my machine up to the maximum. I'm not necessarily going full out, and you don't want that full out speed, but put the speed selector on maximum, but now control it with your foot. And you want a magic marriage between how your foot goes and how fast your hands go. So let's just show you what happens when I go really slow on my foot and fast on my hands. Okay, so I'm starting on the spot, I'm keeping slow on my foot, and I'm going fast on my hands. Okay, so if I turn that round, can you see how big those stitches are compared to back here, where I was going quite fast? We've got quite small stitches. And if I went, what did I do? Slow with my foot. If I went really fast with my foot, whoops, really fast with my foot, and then slow, I'm going to get really teeny tiny stitches, which is almost impossible to see under the camera there, but that's what you'll end up with. So we want a magic synergy really between your foot and your hands. You want a fast medium on your foot, and you want a steady pace with your hands. So let's come back the other way. Okay, that was quite a steady pace, you could hear there. So I'm going to come this way. I'm just doing straight lines for now. There's nothing fancy that I'm doing. I'm just showing you how we're going to get going with this. So I'm stitching on the spot. I'm getting that speed going, and then I'm moving nice and even with my hands here. Okay, and then we'll get a nice steady line with nice steady stitches here, which you can see just underneath here. I'm not sure if you can see all the difference in the stitches, but those are nice even stitches. Let's see if I can hold it up to the camera just a little bit. You can probably see that they're actually not too bad stitch wise, whereas if I come back round here where I was going really fast there, they get really teeny tiny stitches, which is what we don't want. So for now, have a practice at that stopping and starting. That's all I want you to do, is just stop and start, stitch on the spot to lock it, then get going, get that pace going, and then stop your hands and then stop your needle. So you start with your needle, you move your hands, and to stop, you move your hands, you stop your hands, then you stop your needle. Okay, so let's go on and do a design, and you can see how all this comes together. All right, so if you've been following along and you've been having a go at that, let's do that line that we've been doing, but put a little loop into it. Yes, you can do it, I promise. So I haven't moved anywhere from going from the last section to this section. Our needle is still in, but as we've stopped, we still want to do a little stitch on the spots, because that just helps prevent any big jumps and any bunny hops, and just gets a nice smooth stitch line. I am going to come down here and I'm going to put a couple of loops in, and I've only got about 3.5 inches of quilt sandwich, so we're going to have to get them in quite fast. I'm going to get going with a couple of stitches, and I'm going to move forward. And then because I've practiced on paper, I can do a little loop. Let's get some speed going. And I can't actually see what I'm doing, mind. Okay. Okay, stop hands, stop machine. I can turn this around, and you can see I've got a few dodgy loops, but that's not bad considering I couldn't see what I was doing. So very easily, you can see here where I was going quite slowly, this is what happens. We get big stitches, and as I sped up, we've got some nice even stitches. So it really pays to practice doing this. What happens when I go slow? It might be an effect you're after. What happens when I go fast? Do I really want teeny stitches? Or what happens when I go at a nice steady pace? And that's what we're after all the time. Sorry, I keep knocking the camera. The other thing with free motion is you need to really plan your design. You can get your quilt in any which way you want to go to, but you are moving around and you're always going to be coming towards you. So if you're doing any kind of straight line type things, you're going to be coming down towards you. So it's just something to bear in mind. Okay, so let's have a loop there and a double loop there. I wish I could see what I was doing. Okay, and then stop. All right, they're not very good. Well, I mean, that's quite true. There could be a flower. Bearing in mind, I cannot see what I'm doing from up here. Just saying, you can see what I'm doing, but I can't because I'm above my machine. So I'm kind of guessing where the needle's going. But when you can see what you're doing, you can make some really good designs. But I think one message that I want to leave you with for this video is don't worry about mistakes. honestly. I mean, even this one, you're not going to unpick that. If you've made a dodgy little circle, say it's a flower, we'll just rename it and have a whole new design for ourselves. So really do not worry about mistakes. We all make them, and generally when you've got a whole area that's been free motioned, nobody is going to notice. Meandering is generally the easier one to get started with, but you have to work out where you're going all the time. So meandering is this one that we're going. We're just sort of going all over which way, and you have to work out which way you're going first. And this is one of the issues that, there we go, there's a little bit of meandering. This is one of the things that people really have a problem with when they're starting out is, well, where am I going now? So meandering is a really easy one to do, but you can see here, let's just point this out. Can you see here where it's a bit jolty? It's got a, hang on, let's try and get that under the camera more. Can you see that there's a sharp point? Fantastic if I want to make waves, perfect. But with meandering, we should be a nice even curve like this one here. And this is because I was speaking to you and I wasn't really thinking about where I was going next. And this is where the problems come in with free motion, is you're not sure where to go next, which is really where the planning comes out. So, or comes into its own. So the meandering is really easy to do. However, when you've got something like this line with our swirls in it, you know where you're going. You don't have to think about it. You're just doing a line with a swirl and then a double swirl, or just keep it single swirls, and you always know where you're going. So try and keep things really simple to start with, and just practice and practice and practice and practice. That is your key for free motion quilting. It's just practicing. It's not all there is to it, but probably it is. As you practice more, you get more confidence and you can try more patterns. But with all that little jolty bits here, it is because you are not thinking fast enough. Sorry, not you personally, but we can't think fast enough about where we're going. So you really need to be concentrating on it. It's really good for your brain, this, by the way. It does also help if you can see what you're doing. That does help. But if you can't see, well, just rename it. So free motion quilting, as this a little beginner's guide, I will do more videos in the future, but this is really just to get you off the starting block. Just get practicing. Do follow Angela Walters, as I've said, and Christina and Natalia, can't remember her name, sorry, because they do loads and loads of videos on free motion quilting. But I'll have a few more videos just to help you get out of the starting block and just get going. I hope that has helped today. If it has, please don't forget to like, subscribe and share. Please put a comment below and let me know how you're getting on. I do read all the comments and I pretty much respond to everybody as well. So if you've got any questions, do let me know. But I will see you in the next video, and I will put a description of the books below, and I'll link all the other videos in the series below as well. So I hope that has helped, and I will look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye for now.